What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to where the weird ones are.
Yeah. Weird ones only, we talking that truth. Ghost in the attic, yeah, show me the proof. Aliens creeping, they light in the roof. Minds wide open, we shatter the booth. Conspiracies deep, we dig in the scars. Demons and angels and bodies on Mars. Cryptids be watching, they lurk in the dark. Mental on edge, but we glowing like stars. Welcome to the pod, no cap, it's a seance. Whispers in the static, spirits doing dance. Reptiles in suits, yeah, running the lands. MK Ultra made a puppet of your mans. Wendigo hunger, dogman strut, flat woods, eyes glow. Slice through the cut, Bigfoot tagging trees. Marking the trail, weird ones ride, no room for the frail. Talking about trauma, talking that soul. Peeling back layers, we dig in a hole. Sacred geometry, numbers align. Ancestors speak through the veil in the sign. Ayahuasca dreams, third eye lit. Shadow self lurking, we making it spit. No mainstream lies. This the dirt where the weird ones rise from the blood and the hurt. Weird ones only, we talking that truth. Ghost in the attic, yeah, show me the proof. Aliens creeping, they light in the roof. Minds wide open, we shatter the booth. Conspiracies deep, we dig in the scars. Demons and angels and bodies on Mars. Cryptids be watching, they lurk in the dark. Mental on edge, but we glowing like stars. Voices in the woods got chills on the neck. Black-eyed kids at the door, now we check. CIA tapped in, fluoride drip. Project Bluebeam, watch that script. Talking about grief, talking about fear. Talking about why them voices appear. Healing the mind while breaking the chain. Spiritual warfare deep in the brain. We don't run from the strange, we live in the strange. Tattoo the truth and the scars and the pain. Stay weird, the mantra we own in the name. Reality bends, so we bend to the same. From the attic to the swamp, we tracking the freak. Where the veil get thin and the silence speak. We ain't your norm, we off that grid. Weird as the wave, yo, this where we live.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. Today's episode is with Angie Kuschel. She's a psychic medium out of the great state of Florida. She's good friends with my friends Jen and Mondo from 305 Paranormal, which all three are a part of a bigger team called War Party Paranormal that is obviously in Florida. So she comes on, she has some amazing experiences. She starts embracing the weird. She wasn't sure if she should start talking about it, and she has now, and she's written a book, which is amazing. I love it. But real quick, shout out to the sponsor, Flavors of the Forest, raw garlic dust, Bigfoot's breath. Go check them out. Flavorsforest.com. That's where you can get it. They have other flavors: cranberry, horseradish, lion's mane. Lion's mane is my favorite. They also have ginger, and this one that I have in my hand is spicy. So super potent, way better than anything you're going to get at the store, I promise. And I put this shit on just about everything. So Nelson and Matt, great dudes. You can also find them on Instagram at Flavors Forest. So in case you forgot what I had just said 2 seconds ago, you can order yourself some bottles of garlic dust at flavorsforest.com. And I do apologize for the sound of the washer, if you can hear it. Not sure. Probably can. But who knows? I don't know. I can hear the baby now slamming on the floor. But anywho, yeah. And also check out my buddy Johnny, wildbeauty.com. I don't know if the light will let you really see it, but they got moisturizers and a whole bunch of shit. It's really good. It's not going to leave you feeling greasy or anything like that. I like it. I like it a lot. So, other than that, if you're experiencing any kind of mental distress, please dial 988 here in the United States of America. Happy birthday, by the way, to America. Just so you know, for anybody who's not celebrating the 4th of July, we don't need all these posts about why you're not celebrating just because of who's in office, blah, 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 what happened in the past. What matters is the present. We need to do shit for the present right now and make this what we want it to be, right? So, and the birth of this nation was the start of something great. So, anywho, again, if you're experiencing any kind of mental distress, please dial 988. They are equipped to help you with any of the mental distress needs that you have. They can hook you up with therapists and all those kinds of things. Also, if you know somebody who's going through some shit and you want to know how to help, they can also help you with that too. So please stay another day. You are loved. You have no idea how loved you are. So, other than that, July 26th, I will be in Gatlinburg, Tennessee at Smoky Mountain Bigfoot. So come say hi. Other than that, and I said that like fucking 5 fucking times now, let's get into this conversation with Angie. Shall we? Where the weird ones go production.
What's up, my fellow weirdos? This is Jen and Mondo from 305 Paranormal.
And you're listening to Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are. If you like what you hear, like, comment, sub, and share to hear more. Peace.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. So happy to have you here. Today, I have a lovely guest. I'm going to probably butcher your last name, so I do apologize. But she is Angie, I'm going to say Kushel.
You're very close.
Is that
Yes.
correct? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll have you correct me here in a second, but Angie is a gifted intuitive who bridges the gap between the spiritual and physical worlds, offering transformative guidance through her deep connection to spirit. Known for her grounded yet powerful presence, she supports others in healing emotional wounds and uncovering personal truths and exploring the unseen with confidence. So, we're going to talk a bit about her journey. She also wrote a book. We're going to discuss that. So, Angie, the floor is yours. If you don't mind introducing yourself, letting the people that don't know you or are unfamiliar with you a little bit more about yourself and where it is they can find you and all the stuff.
Okay, well,
that
thank you. That was a great introduction. Again, my name is Angie Kuschel, so you were very close to being correct. I'm primarily based in Jupiter, Florida. I have an office here. I also work with one of the largest teams in South Florida called War Party Paranormal. So I'm a paranormal investigator with them. The team's psychic medium. As you mentioned, I did write a book. I also, like I had mentioned, do run a business that can be found at angiespiritualreadings.com. And that's also my IG, my Facebook handles as well. And you can find me there. And yeah, that's what I love to do. And I've been working very diligently at this for a very long time. And I'm loving every minute of it.
Awesome. I love hearing it when people love what they do, when they come on the show and they talk about the things that they do and they're just so enthralled with it. It makes me happy because that, to me, that you're following your life's path and your passion, and it's amazing to see. But I'm also very familiar with War Party Paranormal. I've talked to a few of them. I've had a few, 305
Yes.
Paranormal, Jen and Mondo. They're very tight with War Party, and they've become like family to me.
Love Jen and Armando.
Yeah, they're fantastic people. I love them to death. But the first thing that I would love to discuss with you is your book, The Way I See It, Medium's account of her paranormal journey. I guess it's essentially your journey.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. All right. So
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. My bad. My bad. Go ahead.
I say that I'm a natural born psychic. I've always talked to dead people. I just didn't know they were dead. I just kind of thought that they were just my friends, and I would have full-blown conversations as if they were there, never thinking that I was any different or special or anything like that. They were just a group of people that I talked to. I was never afraid. I was never scared, never worried. I never had, a real freaky situation happen. It just was kind of how I led my life. As I got older, I kind of pushed that all aside, had to. Nobody wants to be the weird one. So kind of pushed that all aside. Caveat, I was also raised Roman Catholic. So there's kind of that. Pushed it all aside, fear, whatever it is. And my second near-death experience, because I guess I've been fortunate or unfortunate to have two of them, was kind of the catalyst for me deciding that you can only hide for so long before what's meant to come calling for you comes calling for you. And when I came out of the coma that I was in, by all accounts, I had very lengthy conversations with people that weren't in the room. Because I was kind of like in and out of it for, I think it was 2 or 3 days. When I left the hospital, I kind of knew that everything was different then. And really thought that I had lost all mental reasoning capacity, and really thought that I was in a really bad situation, that I was having a breakdown. Everything, every vision, every thought, every word, everything was coming to me like I was watching 100 movies at one time, in fast forward and reverse all at the same time. And I knew there was a message there. I just didn't know what the message was. So out of desperation, I reached out to people that I thought knew more than I did, which was pretty much anybody. And I was grasping at straws to decide whether this was real or if I really needed to check myself into a psych ward for some serious therapy. And fortunately, I did not have to check myself in for therapy. I found a really great group of people and with War Party. And, scrolling through my socials one day, I saw an event that they were hosting and bought a ticket, showed up, never watched a paranormal show, was not into paranormal, didn't know what any of that really even was. And I sat there in the audience, telepathically trying to communicate with anybody. I wanted them to see me and say, hey, you're not crazy. Didn't work out like that. But after that event, I left disappointed because I didn't get the answers. I wanted answers. A few weeks later, War Party comes across my socials feed again. And this time they were looking for new members, new investigators. And I thought, okay, I don't know what that means either, but here I go. So I sent in my request to get an interview. And to be completely honest, I kind of fluffed my interview a little bit. I told them I had a lot more experience doing the things that I did with actual living people than I did. And when I got to the interview, I was very surprised and, well, not very welcomed, to be honest with you. If you know John or Zap from War Party, he's one of the co-founders along with Scotty. And in my book, and John has read my book, he was the biggest jerk to me. And I call him a jerk in the book. He knows it because he didn't really, he said in the business that he was in paranormal, that you run across a lot of people that say that they're psychic mediums and most of them are full of it. So he put me through the test.
Yeah.
He didn't want to believe me. So he put me through the test. War Party put me through the test for close to 3 years before they really considered me the team psychic. And until they really believed that what I was saying was real and legitimate. And to be honest, when I joined the team, I also wanted them to tell me I was wrong. It would have been so much easier in my life to be a little crazy and maybe have to take a small dose of something and then just continue on my life and not have to do this. That's how I felt at the time. I don't feel that way now, but I had a lot of things to reconcile in my life in order for me to be okay with who I was. Part of that was my religious upbringing. Part of that was potential and real ridicule from other people. People always questioning your judgment, your morals. And it took a while for me to feel confident enough to say, I don't care if you believe me because I know who I am. So it was.
Yeah, I feel like that's always some of the biggest things that we go through when we, number one, we have experiences or we can or we have abilities like yourself and so many other people. When they start talking about it or start telling people, they start opening up. Before they open up, it's like, I think I'm crazy, but I don't want other people to think that I'm also crazy, because I think I'm crazy and I'm the one that's seen or had this experience. And I think that's like the biggest thing is caring about what other people think. Once you stop caring about what other people think, it doesn't really matter anymore. Nothing really matters anymore. And the hard thing when it comes to mediumship and psychic abilities is there are so many charlatans out there, and that's that's a terrible thing for the real ones, because then like they get treated the way that you kind of had been I mean, they put you through a test for 3 years. Like, come on now.
Yes. Yeah.
It usually takes, I feel like it takes like a good hour to really figure out if you're being honest and not. But I mean, I guess there has been so many people out there that say they are and that are so good at reading people that they can fake it. So I mean, but anywho, I'm glad that you have been able to come out of your shell and kind of just like live as you and stop caring about what people think and stop caring if people believe you.
Absolutely. And, like I said, they tested me for a long time. Part of that comes off as a little jerky, and part of that comes off as giving me a real opportunity to stop second guessing myself. Because
that's a good way to look at it.
And listen, John is one of my favorite people now. Even though I call him a jerk in the book, it took him that long he started calling me the paranormal bloodhound. If something's happening, she'll find it. And after that long of time, it kind of took me by surprise, and I was kind of flattered. And I thought, for somebody who has dealt with as many charlatans as he has, that he has that kind of faith and confidence in me. Who am I to second guess him?
That says something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's got decades and decades.
And yeah, and they also have, like, I mean, to his credit too, like they have a like a business, not like I guess like a business to uphold. They don't want to shortchange their people that come to them to investigate either. So they also want to make sure that they're using the right people, the right equipment, and all that stuff too. So I guess, like, in a way, that also makes sense of why they tested you so hard. But that is an awesome
Yeah.
compliment
And the
for you. That
reputation
says a
is
lot,
hugely
I think.
important in any business, but in the
Mm-hmm.
paranormal where things can be so
Right.
sketchy, so fast, and by so many people that, yeah, you have to go in with people that you know are not full of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you recall, like, the very first time that you had an experience? Because I'm not sure if you were sure if it was an experience or not, but, like, obviously now that you've honed in on your abilities and stuff, you can tell what's an experience and what's not. But do you recall, like, an early experience that you had?
When I was younger, I'm going to say probably not, because I never made any
Mm-hmm.
kind of discernment between them being real or, well, they're real, but them being living or dead. I never really understood the
Yeah.
difference. But I would say my
Yeah.
first
Okay.
real experience that I can recall was probably with my grandfather, who would come to me while I was sleeping and he would grab me by the ankles to wake me up. But I knew it was him. And as scary as that might sound, it was never scary. I was never startled by him. I would just talk to him once he woke me up. So that's probably the first spirit encounter that I can really recall. But I've always seen, and I laugh because when I was little, a lot of times when I first would see a spirit, I would see them as leprechauns. And that
That's
it sounds
interesting.
kind of crazy, but I think being so young that they came to me in a way that wouldn't scare me or they were just little
That makes sense.
happy
Yeah.
people. And I would see them as leprechauns. So I always saw leprechauns, but I didn't know that nobody else saw them. They were just always around.
That's You never were like, "Hey, look, there's a leprechaun," and other people were like, "What are you talking
No, I
about?"
guess because they didn't startle me, and I just never felt the need to point them out, I guess. I don't know. I don't, I don't have those conscious
That's funny.
memories from that young, but yeah, I saw them as leprechauns
Right.
when I was little.
My younger brother was scared of leprechauns when we were kids, and I used to like, some nights we'd get home from, like, grocery shopping or something, and we'd be grabbing all the groceries and it's still dark out and we're walking up the steps to the apartment and I'm like, "There's a leprechaun coming," and he's like, "Ah!" It made me feel like Wayne from Wayne's World, when he scares Garth. He's like, "I'm the
Right.
leprechaun," and he's like, "Oh my god!" So that's kind of like what I did with my brother. So I don't know, you just, like, unlocked a core memory for me when you said you are seeing leprechauns, because I used to just say that to my brother all the time. "There's a leprechaun
That's a
coming."
nice memory, though. Maybe not for
Yeah,
him.
for me. No. Oh man. So did they ever, like, talk to you, or did they just, like, you just were like, "Oh, there's a leprechaun," and moved on with your day?
Both. But yes, they've always talked to me. I've always heard them. And I say heard kind of apprehensively because, and I only know from my
Mhm.
own experiences, but sometimes I see it, sometimes I feel it, sometimes I hear it. But I don't always know which way it's happening at any given moment. I just know the information is coming into my head some way. Sometimes I'll actively see pictures or I'll actively see words. Then obviously I know where it's coming from. But sometimes I can't tell if I'm getting it visually or audibly. Sometimes I just really don't know.
I got you. So you can't. They're not always like visibly speaking to you, but you're still hearing it.
Yes. I hear,
Okay.
I
All
have
right.
had to work on a method of, I used to try and block everything out. And I've switched
Mm-hmm.
it over to everything is blocked until I allow you to speak to me, until I open myself up. Because it was very, very
Good.
difficult to sleep, to do anything. I couldn't go to restaurants without hearing, and I say hearing, sensing, hearing other people's conversations from so far away. There's no way that I could hear their conversations, but I would pick up on that energy and I knew what was going on, and I could hear conversations and I could hear what they were thinking about or what they were going through. And so I've had to just, unless I say we're ready, then we don't have conversation. And in my house, I developed a system, a 3 wind chime system. And I have one very light wind chime, one medium heaviness wind chime, and one very heavy wind chime. And if you want to talk, hit the wind chimes because they're in the house. They're not outside. If you just want to say hi, you hit the little light one. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll see if you need attention. If it's something you really need to say to me, you just go for that heavy one and I will stop and we will have a conversation. Yeah.
Oh wow. How often do they hit the heavy
0.
wind chimes?
They've
Do you
hit the
think?
heavy one time 0
Oh,
times.
okay.
The light one and the medium one, yes. I guess and I will stop and say, if there's something you want to talk about, we'll talk. It's never been anything that has caused them to alarm me with any kind of great importance. Probably because I give them the attention once they get to the second one.
I gotcha. That's a cool system though. It's a way to gauge of how important they need to
Right.
speak with you. So, now you said you had 2 near-death
Yeah.
experiences. You nearly
Yes.
died twice.
Yes.
Oh, so if you don't mind, how did both of those incidents
Well, the
happen?
first one was when I was 18 months old. It was a household
Okay.
accident where I had 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 50% of my body. Yeah.
Whoa.
At that time, and my brother and I both were affected, him to a lesser degree. They wanted to amputate both my legs. My mom, who 90% of the time denies that she has special abilities, said that she knew that that was the wrong move, went against the doctor's advice, and told the doctors that if God was going to take me, they were going to take me in one piece, not piece at a time. I do still have both my legs. I did make a full recovery. That was a long road from what I understand. I don't really remember a lot of that, obviously.
It's a good thing you don't
Yeah,
remember
I
that.
will say that I have had some
Jeez.
very detailed dreams about that are incredibly painful.
I bet.
The second one should have been a routine procedure. Went to the hospital. They were taking me back for surgery. Again, my mother said, something's not right. You need to talk to the doctor. Something's not right. The person who was taking me back said, everything's fine. The doctor knows. She said she wasn't feeling good, blah, blah, blah. I wound up essentially throwing up into my lungs. My lungs had to be washed with saline solution. I was put in a drug-induced coma for, I still say I don't know how long, because I've refused to read the medical reports. And my mom said she knew something was wrong, and she told them, and they didn't listen. Me, I was drugged up on morphine. Everything was good. Yeah.
Yeah, does kind of sound like your mom might have some intuition
yeah, she
there.
does. The last thing I remember saying to her, which is kind of weird, I mean, I gave the, rock and roll sign and said, quoted a song from Metallica, and on my way I went. Yeah. No clue where that came from, but that's kind of an off to a not so successful surgery. But yeah. So that was my second one.
Oh my goodness. Well, do you recall any like astral traveling kind of going, like leaving your body at all during
Not
that
at all.
time?
No. I
No.
remember nothing for the time that I was in the coma to the several days after the coma. I remember nothing. I felt like I was, conscious, but I don't remember who was in the room. I don't remember any of that. And like I said, according to my mom was in the room, my boyfriend at the time was in the room, and my best girlfriend. And they said I just had conversations with whoever I was having conversations with. And I don't remember who I was having conversations with. I don't remember any of the conversations. I just remember things are going to change.
And then when you came to, that's when you kind of like realized your gifts. Was that like right away, or was that eventually?
It was pretty quick. Again, during that time, I was thinking that I lost oxygen to my brain, and I probably had some real serious brain damage. And that's why all of this stuff was kind of happening. Because I had such damage to my lungs. I was still literally, I couldn't walk from here. I couldn't walk 6 steps when I was in the hospital. So I was fighting for that every single day. And every day I woke up and I said, you're not going to die today. And then the dreams, the visions, the, 100 movies, fast forward and reverse all at the same time. And I knew that they were trying to tell me something, and I just couldn't. And I was so frustrated because I felt like it was so close, but yet a million miles away. And then all the pieces came together. I watched one full movie and I knew everything that I was supposed to know. And that was probably, I'd say within 2 weeks that all the pieces came together. And yeah.
Wow.
And I thought, okay. And even when I kept hearing voices, and I kept hearing words, and I kept seeing pictures. And I know that I said out loud, I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. And I kept hearing, just trust it. Just trust it. And okay. And I did. And the ex-boyfriend, had a very detailed conversation with him. And part of this I do cover in my book. He was a con artist. He took money. He emptied my accounts while I was on life support. And I didn't know any of this until it all came to me and all pointed out. And I kept saying, I don't know where these words are coming from, but they were coming out of my mouth as I was confronting him with all of this stuff. And in retrospect, I knew something was wrong, but I was still not willing to listen to things that I couldn't see or hear. I couldn't see it. I couldn't, so, words coming through my brain, I wasn't ready to go on that gut instinct kind of thing. My spirit guides were probably chain smoking cigarettes and doing shots of tequila going, she won't listen, but I finally, it all came through. And one word is what got me there. I finally got one word. And that word, once I understood that one word, they said, okay, you got it, and just snowballed into everything else. I know.
Wow. That's amazing.
I know. It sounds kind of wackadoodle. I know.
Oh, now I get why you thought you would end up hugging yourself in a padded room somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Man, all that flooding in at once and it clicking and then you taking off with it, and now you work with a team, you wrote a book about your journey, and man, it must feel so amazing now at this point to have accomplished the things you've accomplished.
I feel liberated because it's hard to wear the weight of other people's, or what you perceive as other people's disappointment in you. And when I say that, I mean, you're kind of bucking the system a little bit. Can't you just, follow the same path and as everybody else? And, my mom and I have a wonderful, beautiful relationship. She was my biggest, even though she knows, and we've grown a lot talking about stuff like this. She was afraid. She didn't want to admit that she had dreams and that she had premonitions and that she knew things that she shouldn't have known. Again, Roman Catholic upbringing, that kind of puts that kind of fear in you. So for me to tell people, it's a big weight off my shoulder to not have to hide. And it's been important for me to realize that there are a group of people that think that you're normal and think that that validate you when you spend so much time feeling not validated or not willing to say anything.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
the War Party family has really been, I mean, that was the catalyst. Without the acceptance, even though they put me through the ringer, I appreciate the ringer, but without them allowing me to be me, I'd still be just under a rock somewhere, afraid to be weird. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that your weird flag is out, but Roman Catholic, it's always weird to me, like the stigma that they put on a lot of this stuff, because I mean exorcisms, so they believe in prophets and visions and stuff like that. So it's weird that they would they would put such a stigma on this stuff, you know what I mean? And sometimes I wonder if it's just because maybe it's like a female thing, like females aren't allowed to have visions and dreams, only men can, or something like that, because I could see that for sure.
Yeah, and that's
especially with the prophet stuff.
Very valid point, because you're absolutely right. It's like, wait a minute, just everyday people aren't allowed, only the people that the religion is selected, so it is a little weird. And I agree with you 100%. But, It's the follow me because I am instead of follow me
Yep.
because you are.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's why I could never get my dad was raised Roman Catholic, and and he always told me growing up that I was Roman Catholic, but we never went to a church. The closest that I would say that we went to a church was going camping religiously. Because I honestly think that being outside, that's where the church technically is. We don't need a temple for worship, and that's my opinion. Not a lot of people agree with
I
it, but
agree.
there's a lot of people that do,
Agree.
and I think that's what I think where a lot of people, especially a lot of people that I talk to on the podcast, when they do find God, they find him outside in nature
Absolutely.
when they're going through some
That's
shit.
right. I believe that, I always say that I believe in God and the universe's energy. I don't think that they're necessarily two different things. I don't know that they're necessarily one thing, but I have my belief system is entrenched in both those.
Yeah. I like, I have, my what I believe for
Right.
me. But I love listening to other people's interpretations and stuff like that. And I would never sit here and tell somebody that they're wrong because I disagree with them, or that I don't necessarily 100%. I could be like, yeah, I could see that. And I think that's first of all, the United States, that's the whole point of everybody migrating over here was for the freedom of religion. So when religion I don't know, it's just like I can't get behind organized religion just because of all this stuff. You know what I mean? It just seems to they want to suppress you into like this little square and be like everybody else, but we're all so different. We all have different life experiences. We can't all be the same. We can't all think the same. We're not going to have the same experiences. We're not going to have the same gifts. We're not going to have the same talents. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
That's right. That's right.
It's not, and everybody, like, there's so many mediums and psychics out there. I can't sit here and say that religion only Jesus was a prophet, or I mean, not Jesus. No, that's not what I meant. No, only certain people from back in the day were able to see these things, and now everybody that is a medium or a psychic is a witch. Like, I don't believe that either. I think and I don't necessarily think witches are bad
I
either.
don't either.
But
I consider myself to be an earth witch, which is a do no harm witch. I will never use any kind of spells to the harm of somebody else. Will we work on things for the betterment of you? Absolutely. But to the harm of somebody else? Never. Never.
Good. I like that. I like keeping everybody happy and healthy. So, when you walk into a house with War Party, right? What is the first thing that you do when you're on an investigation?
So the way that I do things is I have a strict rule with War Party that I am to know zero about an investigation. I don't even want to know the address until it's time for me to go. Sometimes they'll even drive me there so that I know the least amount as possible. So my goal is to go in completely cold. I usually will have somebody else with me, and strictly to write down what I say. Because I always say that because they're not my thoughts, I don't own them. So they don't usually stay with me very long. So it's somebody else's information, somebody else's thought, or somebody else's energy. Once I spit it out my mouth, I don't always remember what I've said. So it's their job to just write down everything I say. And I have a routine of I always go through the house. I start out the front door. I go from right and I follow all the way around. I go room to room relatively quickly, do one walkthrough through the house. pick up anything that I'm instantly picking up and indicate where I want to return, because I want to get a general feel for what's going on. Then I will go back. I will sit. I will allow the thoughts and the visions and the words to come to me. I will start to feel it viscerally. And then again, I'm just spitting out information to the person who's with me writing things down. Now, I do have a few people that I feel like I work better with, because especially, her name is Nicole, and especially Nicole, because she'll remind me that I have to say things out loud. Because oftentimes I'm having conversations in my head with somebody and I forget to actually, she's like, I can't hear them. So it's like, oh, that's right. Okay. So anyway, so she kind of keeps me on track. And then whatever I pick up, whatever information I've gathered, I then go back outside. And I usually go back outside, collect my thoughts. The rest of the team will then go in. They've already done a preliminary conversation with the client to know what was going on, what was bothering them, what they were seeing or feeling. They already know that information. Then I'll usually give them what I had, what I got. They'll kind of compare notes, and then they'll go back in and ask additional questions if they need to. Generally, I would say that, not toot my own horn here, because, it's not a perfect thing, but I'm usually spot on. And I usually will tell them that this is going on. They're like, well, no, they said it wasn't. Oh, it is. Press them and they'll tell you. And they press them and they get the truth. And, we've been on cases where nothing was going on and they asked us there purely for entertainment. And I walked in. I walked in the house. I walked around. I looked at, in this case, it was also Nicole. And I said, excuse my French, I said, they're full of shit. She said, what do you mean? I said, there's nothing going on here. They made this all up. And I said, but let me walk again, just in case I'm missing something. And I said, nothing's going on here. Walked outside, walked around, cleared my head. And I'm talking and I'm calling on my spirit guides and I'm asking, am I missing something? And I kept getting the same response. Nothing's going on here. Rest of the team came out to meet me and I said, nothing's going on here. Did some research, pulled up, cracked into his social media account somehow. On his social media account, he posted, gonna look for a little entertainment tonight by having a paranormal investigation company come over. Paranormal team come over. They were there. They wanted us there for entertainment.
Oh my goodness.
Waste a lot of our time, a lot of our effort. It was stupid on their part. The team leader had a very firm conversation with this guy. And for the most part, that's not how it works out. That's happened once. Most of the time, something is going on. Most of the time, it's not paranormal. Most of the time, it's trapped energy, which energy can represent itself as paranormal, but a lot of times it's chaos energy, it's anxious energy, it's addiction energy. Those energies can become hostile, they can move and seem very paranormal, but it's not paranormal in the sense that it's spirit energy. It's other energy. And I help them clear that too.
Nice. Man, I don't know how I would feel about it if somebody had me come out there to basically try and help them out, and come to find out that they just wanted a show, I don't know how I'd feel about that.
We were not happy because, we pulled a team together on a Saturday or Sunday You know, we all have families. We all have jobs.
Even worse. Yeah.
It was a 45-minute drive, you know, so, you know, pack up our gear, get, you know, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was a waste of our time.
Yeah. Well, in that perspective, yes, I would be pissed, actually. Like, because if it was like down the street or something, that's one thing. And, but yeah, on a Saturday or a Sunday on my free time, and I drive for almost an hour to try and help you out, to come to find out that you just wanted a show, yeah, I guess I'd be pissed. And so I don't blame you guys. But so how many can you put a number on how many investigations you've been on at this point? Or is it too many to count?
You know, my number's probably low in relation to a lot of people's, but you know, I'd say it's over 100, maybe 150. I don't know if that's
wow.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's a lot or a little. You know, but residential is much less, you know, structures or haunted locations. You know, I spend a lot of time in cemeteries. It's one of my favorite places. I travel as much as possible, and regardless of where I'm going, I'm looking for a cemetery. The older, the better.
Yeah. Nice. So your cemeteries are your favorite. Do you have a favorite cemetery that you like to go to?
Yeah, I do. And I'm trying, and I always get its name wrong. Oh my gosh. It's out in Belle Glade. Oh my gosh, and I can't think of its name. Okay, it might come to me. It is probably the most active cemetery. It's the burial ground from the hurricane that went through Okeechobee. And God, what year? I can't even remember what year it is. My mind's going blank. And they did a mass burial out there. That is probably the coolest cemetery.
Is it for Everglades?
No, it's
cemetery. No.
Port Mayaca, Mayaca maybe. Shoot. It's mass burial. I don't know if you probably look it up faster than I can. And you can sit there and just hear and watch. There's so much activity out there. I say that I don't get, there's not much that I will never run. You'll never hear me scream. You'll never, I'm out there looking for spirit energy. Why would I run away from it? I did go wait in the car and wait for other people to show up because it got a little freaky all. So, I still didn't run.
I bet. What?
Still didn't scream, but I'm like,
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Oh my goodness. Honestly, I run. I don't know about anybody else, but I sometimes, not all the time, but many times I have ran. But you said it was a mass burial for a hurricane.
Yes,
which hurricane did you say it was?
1928 hurricane in Okeechobee, Florida.
Okay, so I got, it's in West Palm Beach. It's Pauper Cemetery.
Nope, that's not the one.
No,
this one's in Okeechobee. The one in West Palm Beach is pretty cool too, but that's not it. It's Canal.
Okay.
It's in Canal Point, I think. God, I've been out there so many times too. I could probably find it in my GPS history.
Port Mayaca Cemetery.
That's the one, Port Mayaca. Okay. And it not only, you know, I do have equipment, but generally speaking, I'm my equipment. I'm going to tell you what I hear. I'm going to tell you what I sense. And then you guys run the equipment and kind of confirm. That's kind of how I do it. But you don't need equipment out there. Although it's cool because then you have evidence to show to other people and, you know, but you can just sit there in the quiet and watch shadows go by and hear conversations. Wow. The conversations got so clear that I looked at the girl that I was with and I said, are we sure we're not alone? And we got up, shined the flashlights. Nobody else was there. That's how clear and how vivid they were.
Oh my goodness gracious. It's a beautiful cemetery too.
So pretty.
For like daytime too.
Yes.
So man, I have to say, when I don't know if this is anything special. I'm not trying to say that it is, but when I get really tired and I kind of like doze off but I'm fighting it, I'm trying to stay awake, I feel like I'm hearing somebody having a conversation next to me. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's because I'm like about to start dreaming, or if I'm actually hearing that, or if it's like my imagination. And I think I've told my girlfriend about it. Like especially at work, it's happened to me a few times because I drive for work, and I'll just kind of like get a little sleepy, which is totally dangerous and don't recommend. If you feel sleepy, you should definitely get off the road. But there's been a few times where I'm just like this, and I can hear somebody having a full on, like, it sounds like two people having a conversation next to me, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Well,
so I don't know if that's anything.
I can tell you this, that PSA, don't drive while tired. But second to that, that when we're in that kind of, twilighty place, your resistance to everything is less. You're not fighting things. Yeah. You're not trying to be, air quote, normal. You're not trying to listen to the things around you. So when your mind is calm, that's probably when you're going to hear something. So I'm not going to say it's nothing, but I would suggest that if that's what you're hearing, pay attention, because generally somebody's trying to tell you something. Or who are you thinking about when you hear those voices? The first person that comes to your mind when you see something, feel something, that's generally who that is, that's coming to say something to you or to try and get your attention. So listen, I not for 1 minute think that I'm special. Not for 1 minute do I think that I have a gift that everybody else isn't capable of honing and working on. Not for 1 minute do I consider myself different than anybody else, other than I've worked really hard. And that's it.
Nice. Yeah. I've waited to talk to somebody about that on my podcast, for like somebody like you to bring that up. I haven't had, since I've really started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't think that I have gifts, and I'm not pretending that I do or anything, but I always thought it was weird because it's been the past couple of months. Even when I'm home and I kind of like, and I'm trying to stay awake, and I'll hear a voice, and I never like try and pay attention to it, but now that you say that, I'm definitely probably going to. But there has been times where I've woken up thinking about my uncle who passed, and he's been dead for almost 7 years. But I know he's visited at least once. And that was when I first bought this house, and everybody who's been listening since the beginning knows the story, but he basically came. I was laying on my stomach, but like turned at the same time, and my dog picked up her head, and I could see her. I was looking right at her, and my door was behind me, and she picked up her head like somebody walked into my bedroom, and I just stared at her for a minute, and then I felt weight on my bed, like somebody had sat down on my bed next to my feet. And I was just like, oh my God. And I felt like this like paralysis, like that's how scared I was. And then she put her head down, and then I was no longer scared, but I was still afraid to turn my head. And then it took me a little bit, and I was like, I feel like I need to look. And then all of a sudden I had this like sensation in my head that it was my uncle. Like that was my first thought, was a presence of my uncle. And then once I felt that, I turned my head and there was nobody there. And I never felt the weight of that had pressed down next to my feet. I never felt the weight lift up either.
You don't always see it go away or feel it go away, because the attention is not about that it left. The attention they wanted to get from you was that I'm here. So, but as far as if your uncle is who you thought about, that's absolutely who that was. Absolutely. And by the way, you can cut this next part out if you want to, but I'm going to say to you, when was the last time you had your blood work done?
Fucking forever ago.
Doctor, because I think you're having some problems processing something through your kidney. Okay. Sorry. You can cut it out if you want to. You don't need to use that.
No, you're fine. I have a small kidney.
Oh, okay.
One of my kidneys is abnormally small. I know that.
Maybe that's why it's not processing through. Okay.
Maybe. But yeah, I will definitely get. I try and stay away from the doctors as much as possible because I don't trust them. Because they're always like, take this pill. And I'm just like, no, I don't want to.
Right. But if something's wrong, you want to catch it early.
Yeah. Yes. So, but anywho, do you do like a prayer before and after, or some kind of like cleansing or thing before and after investigation?
Usually before an investigation, I have the kind of the mantra that I say to myself, sometimes out loud, that is opening myself up, which I've also learned to modify, because originally I would open myself up to anything that wanted to come and talk to me. And then I had what I would call a paranormal overdose, where I literally had the symptoms of an overdose while we were in a prison infirmary. It was not pleasant, nor was it anything that anybody around me needed to see. Yeah, everything that was once inside my body left my body. I was sweating. It was the whole big thing. So now I open myself up, but with a level of protection so that I can't get that affected. Give me the information that you need me to know, but we're not going to be consumed here. So I kind of do that. And then when I'm done, I usually thank everybody, all my spirit guides, any spirit energy that came, everything that was around me. I usually thank them because we want to honor all the effort they put into it. And then I tell them, unless there's something else that they need from me, we'll talk again later.
Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. I had formed a question while you were talking and I forgot. And everybody listening is probably like, dude, you need to stop doing this. Because I say it almost every episode. Like I'll have, because I like to go, I don't have basic, like a list of questions. I just kind of like form questions as we're talking in my head. And I always end up forgetting one of them. And it was really, I felt like it was a really good question, and I
to me, that just means you were paying attention to me talking instead of worrying about what you were going to say. So I'm flattered you forgot your question.
Well, I mean, first of all, I've enjoyed listening to you talk and listening to your stories. I definitely want to check out your book, especially to listen to you call John a jerk.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I wanted to get from you. God damn it, I can't remember this question. I won't. All right, so I'll just ask you this question instead. Are you finding fulfillment in everything that you're doing currently?
Yes. I love working with people, not only on, communicating with spirit energy, because that makes us all feel good when we know that people that we loved are still good. I like working with people that
Mm-hmm.
are afraid that they're haunted and they're afraid to be in their houses. And I love my clients. Every client that comes to me, because as you mentioned at the beginning, I do a lot with emotional trauma healing, and that means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that I can help people be comfortable with who they are and to heal the parts of them that they were embarrassed to say out loud.
Nice. I think that's one of my favorite parts about doing this podcast too is because a lot of these encounters and these stories, like I was saying in the beginning, they tend to make you think that you're crazy, and just talking it out with somebody that's not gonna judge you or put you on the spot and be like, you're telling us a bunch of falsehoods or something like that. You know what
Right,
I mean? Like just having a normal conversation that you would about anything else, about something that might be crazy to other people. I think is a good way to heal a lot of like our mental health issues, our traumas and all that stuff, and just come together and just know that you have a community here to support you and your journey and just be there for you to speak and tell your truth.
absolutely.
So I think that was when you sent me your thing. I was like, I'm definitely talking to her for
Thank you.
sure. Because I like that stuff a lot. And I think mental health is extremely important for everybody to get under control.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're still going to have our triggers and stuff. There's still going to be moments and all of that. But I think healing internally, emotionally, is a good step forward to being our best selves. So
Absolutely. We don't want to bleed on
that's
someone who
all I gotta
didn't
say
cut
about
us.
that.
So we have to heal.
Absolutely, absolutely. My favorite thing to say too is, God made the earth, and or however you view it, God, source, creator, created this planet and looked at all the beautiful things that they created and decided that the world needed one of you.
Oh, that's
So
sweet.
poof, you now exist.
That's
So
sweet. I like that.
thanks. Um, well, Angie, this has been an awesome chat. I really enjoyed speaking with you. If you don't mind letting the listeners know one last time where they can find you.
Okay. My socials are Angie Spiritual Readings, Facebook and Instagram. And my website is angiespiritualreadings.com. Contact my business cell phone is at 561-222-9338. And if you want to buy a copy of the book, you can get it on Amazon.
Nice. I love it. I'm so happy that the weather in Florida allowed us to have this complete
Me too.
conversation.
Me too. We got off to a
we
rocky.
got we got a little. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Um, absolutely, absolutely. Other than that, everybody listening, please like, follow, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. I would greatly appreciate it. Go check out Angie. Go check out her book. I'm sure it's amazing. I'm gonna go grab myself one. Other than that, if you want, feel if you're feeling froggy enough, I could use some ratings and some reviews. If your catcher doesn't allow you to do either, you can do so on the website where the weird ones are podcast.com. That is also where you can get merch, hot sauce, coffee, and supplements, and read some of my short stories that I've been posting. Other than that, you know the drill. Question everything and stay weird.
In the quiet of the night, when the world feels far, there's a voice through the static, like a falling star. It calls the misfits, the dreamers, the ones who see the shadows in the corners, the truth we barely believe. From the pine tree woods to the desert skies, they talk of ghosts and aliens with wonder in their eyes, not afraid to ask the questions that others won't dare. 'Cause the world gets strange when you stop and stare. Come gather around where the weird ones are, by the fireside glow or a midnight call, where the stories run deep and the secrets fly like owls in the dark or stars in the sky. If you've ever felt lost, like you don't belong, you found your place, you found your song, right here where the weird ones are. They'll talk of cryptids, time slips, and deja vu, of spirits that linger and what might be true. But more than the monsters, it's the people you'll find who dare to be open with curious minds. It's not about fear, it's the thrill of the ride, to question the world with wonder as guide. So pull up a chair, let your freak flag fly, we're the seekers of truth beneath the sky. Yeah, come gather around where the weird ones are, on the moonlit thoughts and cosmic scars, where the veil feels thin and the questions burn, and we chase the strange at every turn. You're not alone, not in the dark, you're with a tribe. You found the spark right here where the weird ones are. For the ones who wonder, for the ones who know, welcome home.